So Game of Thrones wrapped this past Sunday, and I've been thinking about this episode for about 2 days now, which in social media time is forever. I was thinking about it at work today, and I decided when I got home I'd make this video. It sucks that the show became what it was by the end of it. For those of you who don't know, which I can't imagine there's many of you who don't, Game of Thrones is based off the Song of Ice and Fire series written by George R.R. Martin, and that's been going since 1996, but George has yet to finish the series. And that definitely shows in the show's quality, because after season 4, it just kind of went... Season 4 was the last season I can definitely say was solid all the way throughout. And then season 5 had some plot dilemma. Season 6, same. Season 7 definitely suffered from it. And now season 8 has come and gone, and it was kind of disheartening because the episode was so meh, and it had stuff I liked and stuff I didn't like. That's supposed to represent how much stuff was in there I didn't like. The decision to make Dany the Mad Queen came out of nowhere. It came out of complete left field, and it definitely damaged the plot of this final season, especially the last couple episodes, because instead of gradually setting up her character as flawed and teetering on the edge of insanity, they just kind of threw it in the last 2 episodes and expected you to buy it, and we didn't. Dan, we didn't. If you didn't like Dany's character change in episode 5, then it's really bad when you start this episode, because it is following that idea to its natural conclusion. I think it shows how far the writing has fallen when you can predict a character death like 5 minutes before a character death actually happens. If you look at some of the notable deaths throughout the show, for major characters, every one of them has been laced in unpredictability. There are times where you could see it coming, but on your first time through, you definitely didn't. Eddard Stark, the Red Wedding, just for a major example right there. Joffrey's death, Tywin's death, Shay's death, every single one of these major deaths was so laced into the story that you could see it coming, but you couldn't see it coming. You could see how it could lead to that natural progression. And that's what George R.R. Martin was just phenomenal at. However, after D&D lost Martin's source material, they started scraping the bottom of the barrel. And so this episode really just consisted of a conclusion from a decision I did not like. One notable example from this episode is Arya saying, "I know a killer when I see one," after Dany murdered an entire city. Everything pre-Dany's death, I really didn't like. It was so predictable, and the dialogue was just dragging, and everything was dragging. And honestly, I felt nothing when Dany got stabbed, because I saw it coming. I saw it coming the moment Jon and Tyrion started talking about it. There was nothing else. There was no other direction that could have gone. And Jon is acting like this is some big moral dilemma, but the audience already knows the outcome. So it's kind of annoying. It can't even be defended like in A Feast for Crows, when you know where Sansa is, but Brienne doesn't. That can be defended for the story. This, the characters know where each other are. There's no stake beyond this point. It's here. And that was the first, I think, about 30 minutes of the episode was just debating Dany's death, and it really didn't work. And then everything post Drogon flying away, I was relatively okay with. Relatively meaning I didn't hate it. The decision to make Bran King of the Six Kingdoms, because now it's Six Kingdoms now, thanks to Sansa for messing up that, really didn't work for me. I felt that it just kind of came out of nowhere, and he wasn't fit to be that in that position of power. I thought it was going to be Sam or Davos or Brienne even, or maybe even Arya and Sansa. I felt like Sansa definitely deserved it. I was on the Dany Wins the Throne subreddit until episode 5, and then I switched to Sansa for that reason, because I didn't want Jon to have the throne, and I didn't want Dany to have the throne at that point, and Sansa seemed the next logical choice for me. Sansa's story wrapped up with her becoming Queen of the North, and Jon Beyond the Wall. Jon Beyond the Wall is an odd choice. Mainly because every dramatic moment you can think of following his exile is kind of ruined when you think about how the White Walkers got through. Yeah, Jon, you're exiled. I mean, unless you want to go through Eastwatch. You want to go through that giant gap in Eastwatch, Jon? We can do that. We can do that, Jon. We can go through that gap. It did nothing except give us Ghost. And I don't see where the show can go from there. Not that it's going to go anywhere from there. There's so much I have to talk about. Bran being king just isn't going to work. I can see it's not going to work. I'm so overwhelmed by it, while at the same time being so underwhelmed. I felt that the show peaked in season 4, and it just never reached those heights again. We had moments. Battle of the Bastards was one. I greatly enjoyed that. Battle of the Bastards was pretty good. The most I can scrounge up for the final season of the show is just sad. I'm sad that D&D were so done with the show by this point that they couldn't give enough of a shit to wrap it up nicely. I'm sad that all this planning and 8 years pre-development led to nothing to this point. So much stuff just got thrown out the window, and Jon being a Targaryen didn't matter. The Three-Eyed Raven didn't really matter. Azor Ahai followed Bran out that fucking window. And it makes me sad because George R. R. Martin obviously has so much more planned. At least I hope he does. But I'm pretty sure he does, because he's had so much time to work on this. And he might be tired of it, but he knows how to conclude a story. I feel that we should have realized the fate of the show the moment we realized one of the writers was the same guy who wrote X-Men Origins Wolverine. I felt we had the warning signs. The best thing that came out of the season was the subreddit. The Free Folk subreddit. That was the best thing to come out of the season. All the memes that came with it. I'm glad Ghost got pet, because that got put on the subreddit. I'm glad Dany burned down King's Landing, because that's on the subreddit now. I'm glad Cersei got killed by a bunch of fucking rocks, because that was on the subreddit. Clegane Bull was hype. I feel just empty with how the show ended. I wanted to cry when Dany died. I wanted to, but I didn't feel like crying. Because it was just so predictable. None of the characters really made any difference at the end of it. Tyrion's ability to think beyond the next 2 minutes was so out of nowhere, and I tried to ignore it for the longest time, but when this season came up, I couldn't anymore. And it's a shame too, because I really enjoyed the season beforehand. It really felt like D&D were phoning in what little they could. And they didn't think about logic, and they didn't think about character purpose or any plot development. They just thought, why can Jon kill Dany? Make her burn down King's Landing. Dude, that's a great idea. It's such a disappointment. And I'm sad to say that, because I didn't want Game of Thrones to be a disappointment. I'm waiting for the Winds of Winter with the rest of everyone. And that's where I'm gonna be. That, reading Fire and Blood, because that is all I can really do at this point. Okay, bye.